guys, it's, I don't know, about 6:30 here. And I've just finished recording the Snapdragon by KM Designs. So it's really cute, it's really quick, and it's a scrap buster. So if you'd like to see how I've done this, please stay tuned. So I'm going to show you how to cut as well as make this. So I've just pulled out some scraps out of my scrap box. And funnily enough, this piece gets almost everything, which I think is really awesome. I love scrap busters. So I'm just going to lay this along the edge like this, and then see how many pieces I can actually get. So I get, of the 4 pieces I need, I can't actually get that one there, but I can get 3 pieces, like that. So I'm just going to use my Chaco pen to trace around the edge of this because it's a black felted back vinyl. And I want to be able to see the marks. I've also got a blue one of the Chaco pen somewhere. So I'm just going to trace around all of this. Ta-da! So we're just going to do the same to all 4 pieces and then cut them out. And I can show this as part of the video because there are no marking, no size markings on the pattern. So even though this is still a scrap, I'm actually still going to put this in the corner like this, because if I was making multiple, I could get 2 of these out of this space. Alright, so just pop that aside. Now I've got this piece as well, but as you can see right here, there's a damaged part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my finger there and then just draw a big gap on the back like that, so I know not to put anything there. This is how I do it for all my vinyl, except obviously I'm usually using a pen. I haven't had a chance to laminate this pattern, but I will be doing that because it will make it even easier to trace. You'll notice I have to do lots of like little small lines. That's because it's not laminated, so it's that little bit harder to try and trace right at the edge. It's not impossible, it's just slightly more difficult. So you can use patterns without lamination. I personally just prefer to laminate them. And yes, I go through a lot of patterns, but they also store better. So if I do a video and then I get an order with the laminated pieces, I know I don't have to print more, so I'm actually saving on ink and time for cutting as well. Alright, so now we can pop that down. And I'm going to be using my Class A knife edge scissors. I find that these, of all my scissors, I like cutting vinyl best with these ones. Now I could also be using a rotary cutter and a ruler. But if I go slow and steady, scissors will work just fine. So this piece will now go back into my scrap box. I know it's a big scrap, but it's the last of the roll, so back into the scrap box. And my scrap box is basically anything that won't stay rolled onto a cardboard roll. Goes into the scrap box so that I've got everything organized. I love scrap busting things. And Christmas is coming up, so this would be a really cool Christmas present for someone too. Alright. Another one done. Whoops. So this vinyl, because I know you're all going to ask me, is from Spotlight. It come in a dark brown like this and a lighter brown. The lighter brown has a creamy coloured backing, not black. And this is the dark version. And I bought both because they both have a place. So you just want to be slow and deliberate if you're going to use scissors. And lots of people ask me how I cut so quickly. The official answer is I try and use the full width of the blade when I'm cutting. So you won't see me just doing lots of little cuts like this. I like to use the full width of the blade. So now I'm going to take my little small 28mm rotary cutter and a ruler. This ruler is going to be overkill, but it's the only one that's next to me right now. And then I'm just going to rule the two straight edges. And then I'm going to use my scissors to cut the little end. Because no matter how good I am, I can't use a rotary cutter for that much space without going over this, like without overcutting. But that is now beautifully straight. So now we can go to the sewing machine. So this is everything I need. I've got my 4 pieces that I've cut out. I've got a magnetic snap with gaskets and a zipper, and I need some zipper tape, which I'm going to be using this small little piece of scrap that I've got. So that works out well. I've also brought over the pattern because this is going to give me the magnetic snap placement. So let's start with that. So the easiest way to do this is actually just to cut a small kind of X in the paper so that I can get to the center like that. And then I'm going to flip this over and line it up. Grab another Chaco pen. Okay, I'm awake. I'm one of those weird people that sneezes once I get out of bed. Alright, so I'm just going to use my Chaco pen to mark through to where the magnet's going to go. And then I can take a gasket and set it over that X. And I'm going to use the Chaco pen to draw in the gasket lines. And believe it or not, that does actually work. Okay, so then we're going to take a craft knife. Now, you can get all different versions of these. This one's just like a $3 one from a variety store. Because to me, they're all really much of a muchness. Alright, and so then I'm going to put the male or the skinnier piece into here because this is the top. And then we're going to put the gasket on and bend it over. Now, if you're using a really soft kind of a fabric, you may want to put a piece of stabilizer and iron it to your whatever you're using, vinyl, cork, whatever. Leather, although depending on how thick the leather is, you probably won't need that. Alright, so then we're going to take this piece and we're going to do the same thing. Actually, what else you could do as well is you could use your hole punch to punch a hole. Like that. So I've now got a hole because of my hole punch in the center, and that's potentially going to make it easier. Ah, would you look at that? Beautiful. So then again, I'm going to take the gasket. And I'm doing all of this on the back so that if I stuff up any markings, we're not going to see it. Alright, now I'm finished with that. I can pop it away. Slice up. So when I use a craft knife, I want to show you guys this. I put the tip at the bottom with the blade facing up and then push in. Because of the angle, it will cut up, and then you're also potentially not going to overcut because it's quite a controlled splice. Splice? I don't know. But that's how I use my craft knife to, and since I've started doing it that way, I've actually never overcut the hole. Alright. So there we go. Now, if you want to, you can glue another piece of stuff over here so that the gasket doesn't rub onto the card. So you would just use, I don't know, some fabric glue over the top of that if you wanted to. Alright, onto the zipper. So we're going to flip it over and we're going to get some skinny double-sided tape and we're going to lay it down each side of the zipper hole. And I am going to go just slightly past the edge because I want the zipper to hold all the way. So just two little lines. You want to get it really close to the edge because you don't want the tape to stick out past the zipper. If it's going to, you can actually, if you've only got one size tape, you can actually just take your snips and cut it down the center, which will give you half as thick. It doesn't matter if it's not a perfectly straight line. Lots of people worry about stuff like that. Personally, I don't really think there's a need. So now I'm just going to line up my zipper and trim it down. So that's how much zipper it's going to take. So this is why I pretty much never throw zippers out unless they're less than 3 inches. I haven't measured this one. But I keep pretty much all my zipper tape pieces unless they're like this big because that's no good to anybody. And then I'm just going to split the zip and put the end on and then push. Now this is a size 5 zip that I've got here, but you could probably also use a size 3, which is going on my website tomorrow, actually. I've got to take the photos for that today. I've got a lot to do today. That's fine. Alright, so I'm going to peel off the backing like that. And then I like to lay my zipper down with the zipper toggle laying over the teeth. You don't want it forward because then it's going to get stuck on the sticky tape. And I'm just going to place this centrally over the zip. Like so, right? And then I'm just going to push down either side to make the zipper stick. Ta-da! Alright, let's do some stitching. So I'm going to start, it doesn't really matter where I start, but I've seen that people like to start along the long edge. So because we're going all the way around, I'm not going to backstitch because I want this to be really minimal. And I know it's weird that I'm saying don't backstitch, and you will very rarely hear me ever say it. Alright, so I'm going to stop with my needle down here. I'm going to zip it open. Needle down, pivot. And then I need to do one more stitch to line it up with the rest. And then when I get back to the start, you can either pull this out and then tie it all off from behind, or you can do one back stitch and one forward stitch. Both will work. And because I'm doing a brown thread on brown, you can't really see where the start and stop is. How cool is that? All right, now we need a ruler. I'm gonna need a ruler. I probably should have said that in the video. Okay, so we're going to measure up and line this up along here. I'm not giving you the measurements because buy the pattern. Support the artists that design these patterns. There's a lot more work than I think that most people realize that go into pattern making. So support the artist, buy the pattern, which is why I won't give you measurements. And I also do it behind my machine so you can't just copy. All right, so I've lined that up and now I'm just going to stitch along that bottom edge. I'm going to back stitch because I want it to stay. And back stitch. Like so. Where's my wonder clips? Now this vinyl, I've probably picked something quite difficult because it's a little bit stretchy, so it actually just stretched out of shape because it's fun like that. Another thing that I'm skipping today, because this is just a really quick video, is you can also top stitch along here. And the main reason I'm skipping it is because I'm not using a contrasting thread. So me stitching across there isn't going to add anything to this design. But if I was using a different color thread, if you're using something that's going to pop, like if I was going to stitch this with rainbow thread, I would definitely stitch across the top of this because it's pretty. It's also a really good way to practice your top stitching. Okay, so now we're going to take this piece and we want to put it onto here. So the pattern says to glue, but I'm just going to add some, actually I'm going to add it to this side so I don't overdo it, because we're going to stitch this down. If I wasn't stitching around it, I would definitely do more than this. But I'm going to stitch around it, so I feel like we're okay to double-sided tape it. Like so. And then I'm just going to line it up along this edge here. Like that. And look at us go. Now, because I'm not gluing it and I'm double-sided taping it, I'm actually also going to stitch along here to make sure that that doesn't flap, because that's what you would do if you would glue. And I'm mainly not gluing because I don't currently have any. So I have to adapt to what's in my house because it is 6 a.m. Okay. So now we're going to fold this over. Probably should have done this before, but I'm going to do it now instead. Whatever, doesn't matter. I'm going to stitch the bottom shut. And then we're just going to put it all together. Move that out of my way. So because I know this is slippery, because I forgot before, what I've actually done is I've started a little bit in and started with my reverse stitch and then I'm moving forward. And that just helps with slippery things. I'm not too sure why, but it helps. You probably just need to take my word on that. But that one didn't slip at all. So when I've got slippery fabrics or slippery vinyls, what I do is I start in like 2 stitches and then back stitch first and go over and then move forward. And that just locks it all in for me, which I thought was really cool. Okay, so then we're just going to line this one up along this edge. So she's got a measurement. I can eyeball the measurement these days. I'm not trying to boast, it's just something I can do. So what you want to do is pinch this and pin it. And then hold this one there and pin it. Like so. And then I'm going to get this one and pin it. I'm going to use less pins later, but this is just a good little way to get it all lined up. And then I'm going to do the same to the other side. So I'm actually essentially using these clips as measuring tools right now. Okay. So then I just want to double check it to make sure that I've done it. So even though that these are pulling apart, we're ignoring that. I just want to make sure that it actually reaches around to grab the magnet. Now that I know that it does, I can add this into these clips, which yes is an overkill, but I'd prefer to have too many than not enough. So So I'm going to pinch that and that and that. So I'm just opening these up and then closing them again. I'm also going to zip this halfway into the middle so that my zipper pull is not going to get into my way at all while I'm stitching, because it's just one less thing I have to concentrate on. So I'm going to put the threads behind. Now you can start wherever you want. I'm going to start here and go up and around and down. But choice is yours, obviously. And again, so because this is slippery, I'm going to start in and start backwards like that. I'm just stitching 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and I'm going slowly because I know this wants to slip and carry on. Alright, so needle down and then pivot to get around this edge. And then needle down and pivot. We're just going slowly and deliberately, making sure that everything lines up, because now that I took those clips off, it moved, because that's always the way. Okay, and then we've backstitched at the other end. We're not quite finished, by the way. I know it looks like we're finished, but we need to go back to my cutting board. Finish this off, and I'm putting it on an angle so that you can't get the pattern, and not even a good angle. I'm doing weird stuff. Normally I would line this up along a ruler line, but what I want to do is I just want to trim off those excess bits that are sticking out, which is a lot harder than it sounds. You can also just come and use scissors to trim that edge down. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to give us a 1/16 of a seam allowance. But it's also going to make sure that everything's lined up. So you can just cut it to line everything up together. Like so. And then you also want to double check your flap and just trim that down so that they're all together. And then if you wanted to as well, from here, you could add some edge paint and seal off those edges. And now it's finished. So you can use scissors or a ruler, but that is a great gift idea. All right, guys, bye.